Now this is the 6th trial. This is where Odysseus gets a little bit frisky now, doesn't he? So, let's have a look at Circe. The trial of transformation and seduction. Okay, let's just, again, as in all these videos, let's get right to the chase. Keep it simple, stupid. Let's just go to the outline first. So, Odysseus and his remaining men reach the island of Aea. It's a little bit of a, even in Greek it's a little bit weird to say. Home of the sorceress Circe, Kirki, or Kirki. She welcomes them with a feast, but drugs their food, transforming most of the crew into swine, pigs. Odysseus, protected by the sacred herb moly given to him by Hermes, resists her magic. He confronts her at sword point, forces her to swear an oath, and makes her restore his men. Instead of killing her, he enters into a relationship with her. Circe becomes his lover and wise guide for an entire year, living with him in luxury before sending him onwards, including advising him to visit the underworld. A bit of a deeper story here. Some of these get a little bit deeper, some of these are a little bit more, surface level, kind of like simpler, let's just say, trials. So, this trial here can have a lot of different symbolism into it that goes into, first of all, Hermes. Hermes was the messenger of the gods. Hermes was known to actually kind of like was it Morpheus? I think it was Morpheus or Orpheus. They used to come to Orpheus. They used to come to your dreams and bring you messages. Hermes used to be kind of something similar as well. He used to bring messages, and you could argue to a certain level of symbolism is a connection to the deeper self, that sometimes our intuition or our inspiration or whatever else, or in other cases our instinct. I don't think instinct is the best word. Intuition is probably the better word for all this. What actually is intuition is a whole different chapter on its own that can give us certain clues or certain ideas with regards to how we're supposed to perceive certain things that happen in our lives or that are in front of us, and we don't fall prey to those things. So what basically Circe shows at this point is that his men, they ate the food, they succumbed to whatever it was, those pleasures there were, and succumbing to those luxuries, to those pleasantries, to those temptations, to those seductions, they lose themselves and they become, swine. They become pigs. This trial also shows that the way that Odysseus confronted this feminine, you could say feminine energy, feminine power, which has wisdom in it, but at the same time it is luxury. It does have seductiveness and luxury in it, but it is also wise. It shows to us that it's not like later on we're going to come to Calypso. She has a very different kind of like meaning and representation to a certain degree. This one here is kind of like a different balance. It's not entirely a negative kind of seductive situation, but it's not entirely a positive either. It's something that if we indulge too much into it and we lose track of who we are and who we and what our bearing is and what our direction is, we lose ourselves and we lose our humanity. Okay, so some examples behind how this could actually be, how this can actually be symbolically kind of like, resonated. One of those is the toxic or overly comfortable relationships that slowly turn you into something smaller than you are. Addictions, whether they're food, social media, validation, substances, shopping, drama, etc. A career, a lifestyle, or identity that feels luxurious and flattering, but gradually makes you forget your deeper calling. Sometimes even in a certain case, like the workaholics, they lose the bearing of their own humanity in that whole situation. It is whatever kind of, I would argue to a certain degree, materialistic experience we can have that is not outright wrong on its own, and indulging in it and partaking in it and taking what we can from that experience is not in its own wrong. But once we allow it to consume us too much and we lose our way in our identity, it can turn us into, swine. I'll stick to a little bit the point of the career, for example. Being a career-driven person is not a bad thing if you balance it correctly and you can achieve great things, great results. You can become an inventor and so on and so forth. Losing yourself in that identity, however, and becoming a workaholic and being, that's your only essence, your only presence, that's all you really care about. You lose the goal with regards to some of the people that are around you that should be closest to you, your family, your children, and so many other stuff. You lose your humanity in that presence, And I would argue that even uglier extent of that is a lot of people in careers that they pursue, just wealth after a point. They keep amassing more and more wealth. And it's just like, this is go bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger because, this is my dream. This is what I do. This is like, this is my lifestyle. This is my career. And, they indulge so far deep into that lifestyle that they become less and less humane. They start creating situations or products or regulations or whatever else may be that start becoming less and less humanitarian in their pursuit for that, for that luxury. Okay, whereas that career on its own by itself, once it's checked and kept in certain boundaries and is actually handled correctly with, again, like I've said in some other videos, I think the best approach to most of these things is with balance. And this is probably, I would argue, the trial of balance. So once you actually approach a career, like a great career with balance, it could be something that can create products or services that are very humanitarian and very pleasant or very positive for the world. Okay, and it can be something that's great, something that's actually doing good to the world. It's when you lose track of that actually starts to really destroy things. I've got a good example for that. If you've seen the film The Founder with McDonald's and how McDonald's started out, and basically what the original creators or inventors or the people that came up with McDonald's, what their initial intent was. It's very different to how it actually became. Let's not talk about the conspiracy theories later on. Let's not go into that. Let's just leave it up to what we know up to that certain point, which is still, pretty dark. Like, he started creating like, those ice smoothies, whatever the hell they were, that was actual chemicals, and slowly, it just got worse and worse and worse. Why? Because it was all in the pursuit of profit rather than giving a good quality product. Whereas the original brothers of the McDonald's, franchise, which wasn't a franchise, it was just one little shop that they had made, their whole idea was to have a good burger, a great tasty burger, very specific how they made it. It's always the same. You have quality and consistency with regards to that quality, and fast, like 30 seconds from counter to, what was it, 30 seconds, 1 minute, I can't remember, 30 seconds from the counter all the way to being served. You take it, you go, you eat it. Awesome. It was like, it was the eternal essence of what fast food is, and it was a great vision, and that could have been, and it was a great. That's why it became so popular afterwards as a prototype that even other fast food joints afterwards kind of followed that same formula afterwards. It was a product that was actually meant to better the experience of its customers. Now, the more evil and vile side of that is once you go down the whole path of, let's make more profit, let's make more franchise, let's make this, let's cut that, let's drop the quality. How can we make our drinks cheaper? Okay, it's not even going to be Coca-Cola anymore. It's going to be some weird, substance that we're actually going to throw in there with water, and we're going to, make even more money out of it, and so on and so forth, and meat masses and all that other great stuff. Let's not go into the later parts, the even later parts of what, we have heard about McDonald's. But that's a good example, I would argue. The same thing with certain relationships and whatnot. I would argue that this is, again, like a general thing. It's not just for males or females or whatnot. It's like, it's these temptations and these luxurious kind of moments that we actually lose ourselves into them, and we lose our own identities rather than keeping the balance. It has a little bit of a deeper meaning towards, how all this is actually, how we're supposed to balance all this thing. I would argue that this is a trial of balance, and this is what Odysseus does. And his success for him, or for this model, for anyone, is that he doesn't run away in fear. And you don't truly surrender. At the same time, you don't truly surrender and lose yourself. So you don't run away and be like, okay, no, I don't want to have anything to do with careers and jobs. I don't want to have to do anything with a relationship. It might be a toxic relationship, but only if you lose yourself into it. At the same time, if you don't fully surrender and you don't lose yourself, you can take whatever that situation has to give you and become wiser for it. Because every situation in our lives has things to teach us and to learn, from us to learn and whatnot. And in this case here, Circe is actually showing that the luxury or some of these experiences in life is not particularly that they are negative. It's just that how we indulge and how we actually come to experience this in our lives is what is going to create, it's ultimately like wine. Okay, if you drink one glass of wine, every now and then, it's actually healthy for you. Come to Greece, come to Grecia, you'll find out. But if you drink wine every day and you become a drunkard and you become an alcoholic, obviously that's negative. It's going to have a negative outcome on you. So everything has to be with a certain amount of balance, okay? So again, as I have written here in my notes, you don't fully surrender or lose yourself. You face the power, you set clear boundaries. That was the oath that he done with the sword and stuff. You integrate what is useful and eventually move forward wiser. She's also the reason that, you know, she's the one that actually gives him the whole trial, let's just say, to go to the underworld afterwards. At this point, he balances strength with openness. You know, the trial teaches one that must face deep sensual and emotional experiences without losing their core identity. True mastery comes not from avoidance, but from integration. Okay, there are experiences in our lives that are supposed to teach us something. I can also translate this over into relationships. You know, a toxic relationship, it always has something to teach you. As long as you don't lose yourself in there, you can find your way out of it. Sometimes it's not easy. Or getting, you know, it becomes too comfortable and whatever. But ultimately, when you look back to certain, like, you know, if you have the honesty and the ability to look honestly at a certain situation and see what it actually could have given you, you realize over time that every relationship, no matter how toxic you thought it was at the time, and you're like, you know, once you go out of the relationship, you're like, I don't want to ever hear about her again, or a woman's like, I don't want to ever hear about him ever again. Once all that calms down and you look back to it, you realize, I got certain lessons out of this, and there was good things and there were bad things. And that's probably one of the reasons why a lot of people, you know, they reminisce on just the good parts. That's where you're losing the whole quality with regards to what that lesson was. You're not supposed to, like, you know, just reminisce on all the good parts. You're supposed to have a balance and be able to acknowledge what the goods and the bads in that whole situation were, and what they taught you overall, in order to help you to progress and become even, you know, more balanced as a human being going forward and moving forward after that. So every relationship, you know, can actually do that to you. Like, I don't think that there's any relationship that doesn't have something to teach us, no matter how much we think that it's toxic and it was bad and it was this and that. Yeah, but that taught you something, okay? And what happens once you come out of that situation? You become wiser. Now, this goes into careers, lifestyles, addictions. A lifestyle, for example, it's kind of like, in a certain degree, as if you put something on a pedestal, and once you experience it and you live, you're like, well, it's not really that important, is it? Mine is not the all and all be all. I have money, but I'm not happy. Or, like, there's a lot of lessons to be learned in a lot of the situations and all this stuff, you know. But when you lose yourself in them, well, you become swine, and that's kind of like the whole, again, symbolism behind this. And I would argue in this point here that Hermes, again, once you look at the readings, a little bit of what Hermes is supposed to symbolize in a lot of different situations, a lot of different cases, he was the messenger of the gods. In a lot of cases, they kind of used him also in a sense of, like, you know, he was like our subconscious or our intuition, reminding us or telling us of certain things. And that's why he was prepared for that situation. You know, he got them all. And basically, it was integration. And this whole situation allowed him to become so much stronger out of this and come out of this whole experience even wiser. Compared to other trials that we've dived into, it is a little bit more of a deeper one. It's a little bit more, has some more complex nuances. Now, when you look into a lot of these things, you can go do your own research as well and see a lot of the symbolisms. Most of these things line up, and we're sticking to the same kind of core structure of the same puzzle, if you notice it. From then on, anybody can believe whatever they want. They can choose to be ignorant. They can see things for face value, like, you know, straight up, and be ignorant with regards to having their own free thoughts and trying to figure out what they're trying to say, which that is ignorant as well. They can see things and test them out, but go overly on the other side of testing things out and just not accept symbolism at all and be blinded and, again, ignorant to the very obvious facts in certain things. I mean, ultimately, we are responsible for our experiences, and we are the authors of our own experiences. So whatever you want to believe is completely up to you. But I think that if we are vigilant and we apply free thinking and deeper thinking, I would argue even more so, a lot of these things become pretty obvious, but I'll leave that to each explorer to find on their own. That's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you all in the next one, and until then, peace be with you.